All right, Gavin,
Matt.
for the second time
Second
here.
time is the charm.
Don't you love technology?
I love it.
But Gavin, as we've been saying for how many episodes now, we are
Live.
live. We are live.
We are, baby.
Um,
Officially this time.
what? Yeah, for real,
Officially
for real.
for the real.
Um, for the real, for real. So, yeah, what's our topic today, man?
Topic today is chemtrails.
Chemtrails.
Chemtrails. One of the most debated conspiracy theories that we have on the market at the moment. Oh, well, I would say even for the past 25 years minimum. This has been a thing, even conspiracy, even longer, really. But so yeah, no, it's going to be a fun episode, I think.
Yeah, dude, I'm actually really excited. I know when you and I landed on this topic, the other night, I was hyped. This is one of the things that I always, because you look up in the sky and you see those planes fly and you see the chemtrails kind of coming behind it, and you're like,
Well, that's
it's
the other thing.
interesting.
That's the other thing
It
too.
makes you think.
It's like the number one reason why people really think that there's stuff that's like coming out of those, the quote unquote jet streams is because it's like, well, you have these scientists or military, veterans or whatever it is saying that's not what a jet stream looks like. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't stay in the air that long, and it's not that color, or it's not like, what I'm saying, it's not that potent or whatever.
Yeah.
There might be some of a validity to it. So, yeah. So I started learning about chemtrails about 4 years ago, right when I left college, or I was in college. Um, yeah, it was 4 years ago, 2018. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
5 years ago.
I think so.
Yeah, whatever. It was like around
God,
2017,
we're old.
2018. Yeah, talk about old. Um, but yeah, how did you find out about the chemtrails?
I'm pretty sure it was like my freshman year of college, and I can't remember if it was Geo or whoever, but I'm pretty sure it was Geo. And I now I'm trying to think, I totally forgot. But we look up and he goes, see, it's government again, so they're trying to do whatever to us. And I was like, what? So I went home, right? And I was like, that's weird. Like, I don't know what he's talking about. But like,
Yeah.
if you knew Geo, I'm pretty sure it was Geo. Like, then like that way, like you just don't think too much of it. But like, I still looked it up, and I'm like, okay. And then I started getting into like that rabbit hole of like conspiracy. You know what I'm saying? It's
Oh
like
yeah.
3 a.m. There's nothing
Hmm.
going on. You were now in your 20th YouTube video of some YouTuber in like China talking about chemtrails.
Yeah. Or you always
And
get those guys where it's like they got like 45 subs on YouTube, and they're like, "All right, guys, now listen. I know we talked about this," and you're like, "Oh, where am I? Why am I here? How did I get here?" And then like you see like all the comments are like, "Yeah, Big Joe, yeah, come on," and you're like, "Oh God, where am I?
Big Joe.
Why am I not?
Yep.
Why am I? I was watching YouTube videos about, I was watching like funny clips, and now I'm talking about chemtrails." Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
it was funny you mentioned rabbit hole though, is because I actually found chemtrails the same way. Because similar to you, I was going down the YouTube rabbit hole. I was watching funny Alex Jones like compilations, like of him just like freaking out, and like being a maniac.
There's
And
plenty of
then
them.
oh yeah, it was the one where he was like, I think it was talked about the Illuminati and like whatever else, and it was just going through like all these different. It was like like 8-minute videos, so it was like no 1 through 12 or whatever, and then all of a sudden like
Yeah.
auto played another video, and um it was like a clip of him talking about chemtrails, but then it was like another guy coming in like, so guys, what are chemtrails? And it was like talking about that, and I was like, wait,
Yeah.
is this like a real thing? Um, so
It
that's how I
makes you
found out
think,
about it.
dude.
And it was also like 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
So
I always thought it was 3 in the morning. You said?
it was like it was like 1:30 in the morning. Yeah,
Oh. Man.
that'll get you.
Oh, dude. That is a time when most conspiracies just pop up, or like really weird videos.
Oh yeah.
Um oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Um but yeah, no, dude, I can't tell you the absolute excitement in my body when we were gonna do this. So yeah, as we were saying, it's kind of the government's way of releasing certain chemicals in the air to control the population, i.e., diminish the population,
Allegedly.
or control their citizens. Like there's things like they were like, oh, it's like MDMA or like, or they're just trying to just weed out the weak, right?
Well, that's
And
what
it's
people
just caused
say.
by,
Like, you
yeah.
know.
I mean, I don't know if it's like a real thing, but it's just one of those things where it makes you think where it's like, why are these here, whatever it is. But we'll get into all that.
Well, officially,
The whole
it was labeled as solar radiation management, right?
yes, it was.
That's
Yes,
how.
it
That's what
was.
they're going with.
That's how they get you.
That's a
That's
good
how they
one.
get you.
That's a good. I mean, if you have to have a reason or an excuse, I mean, that's a good one.
I mean, that's the best way you should do it. Like if you're gonna be a government and you need a reason to be there, oh, like we're gonna set off this nuke, but it's just a training measure.
Yeah,
You know, we're training in the Atlantic today.
we're just training out there, just
Um,
doing some light jogging, some
yes, and
jump jacks. I don't know, but
well, now with the Air Force then, they this is when the whole like chemtrail conspiracy started like really getting heavy. They began when the United States Air Force published a 1996 report about the weather modifications. So that's where the whole solar radiation movement or management came. And that's when people are like, well, why is the Air Force of all things getting taken care of this when the Environmental Protection Agency should be? Um so then there were these two gentlemen, Richard Finks and William Thomas. These guys were the ones that were the whistleblowers or like they're just the information spreaders of the theory, so to call it. And they went all over like 4chan and Reddit and all this kind of stuff. And people on those websites, and I'm sure you know, they grab a hold of that stuff, they see a little bit of information, and they run with it.
yeah,
So
yeah. It's one of those things where they get a little bit of, well, you get a little bit of validation or a little bit of truth in there, and then all of a sudden you're just running to the hills with it. Um, But yeah, I mean, speaking of weather modification, you got, it's funny. It's funny how Hollywood and like how Hollywood and the government works. Because at the height of people debating, well, I wouldn't say at the height, but like it was becoming more prevalent of the people like debating weather modification, and does the government have some sort of control or semblance of authority over how the weather reacts, and whatever. And then Hollywood comes out with a movie about it, starring The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson. So, uh, no, it wasn't actually starring Dwayne. No, it was like, who was it in that? It was like Gerard Butler or somebody.
I
But yeah, it came out a couple. It was like 2015 maybe,
what was
2018.
it called?
Geostorm, I think.
Uh,
Something about, but basically what it
yeah,
was is the government had satellites up in space um that connected to the earth that like controlled the weather. So like if let's say California was going through a drought, they would like put in some modifications and have it rain in California, and then do that all around the world. And then of course, as a Gerard Butler a movie happens, things go terribly wrong, and you would now have like immense storms. Like you have like tornadoes everywhere, and 130-foot waves, like tsunamis, and it was a big thing. But yeah, it's just interesting how it's like, they can, like Hollywood can just snap with this kind of thing where it's like, oh yeah. And I mean, I'm not saying that it's true or like actually how it happens, but it's interesting that they're able to run with it as soon as it's being talked about and make it into a movie, so that I think, so that the general pop just looks at it like, oh, well, it's a movie, it's fiction. So that if I come to you and you see that movie and I come to you talking about it, you're like, you saw that on a movie, man. You didn't think of
mhm.
that, and it was the same thing that they did in
Well, it's even the same thing.
2012 with Under the Dome. You remember that, or Dome or whatever? You remember that show?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Cut the cow in
Yes.
half.
Yep.
Mhm. There was like
Mhm.
everyone
Yep.
started talking about,
Thank
do we
you.
live
Hit
in
it
a
right on the mouth.
dome? Is this what's happening here? And then all of a sudden, here's a show about it to make you look stupid. So I don't
Well,
know.
that was a real theory. That there's a theory out there that like people like they debunked the whole flat Earth thing. And they're like, well, what if we're in like a semicircle with like a dome? And
Yeah.
yeah, people are running with that all over like 8chan or whatever it was at the time. Um,
Oh, that'd be kind
but
of cool
yeah,
though.
yeah,
I'd rather live on like a. I'd honestly rather live on a flat Earth. You ever see like the pictures of what it looks like with like the waterfalls and stuff are just like going off the edge? That'd be dope. That'd be awesome. Like, that's my planet.
jump off the edge. Yeah,
Hey. But no, to be absolutely terrifying if you could. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you were like, I don't know. I don't know. What if it was like, what if it was something like, when you're in the water, like you're in the ocean, and you start like migrating one way, like you don't realize you're
yeah,
floating, but like you are
yeah. The
moving.
current.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Like, what if like the government just has these like that's like the dome like stops at a certain point, so when like ships get close to the dome, they just like swift the trajectory of the current real quick. So that you just like float in a different way, but you have no idea. So then you're like, oh yeah, I ended up where I'm supposed to go. I ended up in China, and they're like, because you think China's over here, but it's actually like down here, and you're
Yeah.
no clue. I
You
don't
get
know.
cause to the end and it's like map has not loaded yet.
Yeah, it's just
Please
rendering.
wait to the other part of your mission.
Not a, it's just like it's like the countdown starts like 5. Or it's like out of bounds area. Return to
Oh
the
yeah,
mission.
dude.
But no, yeah, no.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't. That'd be kind of hard to have chemtrails in that though. If it was like a dome,
Not really. Because you would
but
just well,
I guess
you would just fly the planes around, and then it would be, you would fly the planes, and then it would be, you would just do it. It would be more potent, wouldn't it? Because then they would literally have nowhere to go.
oh, true. I never thought about that. Yeah.
If you think about it,
No, that makes sense.
and then it would affect the whole planet.
Yeah. Well, even like the streams, these streams, they last for hours. And the thing is like that could also go with the dome theory, which is like they come in cross patterns and
Hmm.
with everything like just in general, like there's so much sky. Like, yeah, that you can have crashes, like like what you said earlier with what happened in Dallas.
Yeah.
Um, but it, it, it's wild that like these streams are coming so perfectly, making these zigzag patterns, doing these things, and they're just everywhere, and people just don't understand what's going on. And um, then as these behaviors were interpreted by the agency fact sheets. So when the EPA came out, they had these fact sheets on the radiation management, all this kind of stuff. And a lot of people all over Reddit and like 4chan and stuff like that, they're saying that these are actually kind of proving that chemtrails are a thing.
Hmm.
Um, we know they're not, but even scientists have come out against it. Um, but with these chemicals that are out there, and then you have the EPA that is releasing all this information, people are like, you know what, that's going to prove my theory. Well, not their theory, but the theory.
Yeah.
I always thought that was very interesting. But how do you feel about chemtrails? Like, do you think that the government's actually doing that, or is it just like a theory?
Yeah. I believe that the
You
government
feel like,
is. I don't know if it's to the extent of what is being talked about. Like where it's like killing the population and whatever. But I'm not gonna lie to you. I really think that there's really so. All right, back when I was a freshman in high school, so we're talking about 2012, 2013. Um, there was a meme, and it was like, what if humans don't need air to breathe? What if we're actually what if air is poisonous? It just takes 75 to 100 years to kill us.
yeah,
Obviously, it was a meme. It was like a Keanu Reeves meme from back in the day. If
I
anybody
saw that.
remembers the
Yeah,
meme templates from back then, where he's like from Bill and Ted, and he's like, making that stupid face. Um, and at first I thought about it. I was like, that's just hysterical. That's, it's funny, whatever. But it would make sense if it was like they were changing the way that like our body functions, like over time, to get people to be increasingly sick, increasingly weaker, increasingly smaller. I would, to me, that's what I think. I don't think that
yeah, yeah,
they're putting a bunch of stuff in the air, then they're like, yeah, death to the poor or whatever. Um, but I think they're like, well, this is where we're going to be in the next 30 years, 50 years. What can we do to reduce the pop, or just to reduce, the struggle that the people might put up if we want to be in power or whatever. I don't know. I mean, think about it, right? Why not? Why wouldn't there be? I mean, we're talking about you got like the Freemasons and the Illuminati, and these people have been around. These organizations have been around seemingly since the inception of our country, right?
Yes.
Why couldn't it be? Why you know what I'm saying? Why does it? What that's the other thing is like you have all these people that have no clue what the facts are, no clue the stats, no clue
Yeah.
the what we're even talking about. But it's like you're going against the government or you're going against whatever, and they hear the token coin
Going
phrase.
against the government.
That's
Yeah.
the thing. That's what's so funny to me is it's like you have these people that like vehemently hate the government, but then when you say something that's like, yeah, I agree, it's outlandish, it's an outlandish theory, but at the same time, look at the times. You know what I mean? Like in the times that we're living in, you got stuff that I mean personally I never thought would be a thing. You know what I mean? Like
Oh yeah.
you
Trust
you
me.
got
Same.
you look on TikTok, you got people on there arguing whether or not you're allowed to if you're allowed to be transgender or you're allowed, you have to be straight or you believe in God or you don't believe in
Gatekeeping
God.
things. Yeah.
Like it doesn't, what I'm saying? I don't know. I digress. But the the
Yeah.
the fact of
That's
it.
the whole thing with the government. Go ahead. Sorry. Sorry. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just going to conclude that thought by just saying like the fact of the matter is the government is always lying to you. Period. And about everything. So I think they're doing something up there. I personally believe that if and they can provide all the evidence they want. Like, this is not it. This is not it. They're lying. The government. That's what. And what did Reagan say? The 9 scariest words you can ever hear are "I'm from the government and I'm here to help."
Government. I'm here to help you.
Right.
Oh, you. Yeah.
So
Well, not. We'll get into that later. I want to keep on the same thought, but it was just funny you say that because someone else in the government said that. Um,
yes,
but
they did.
yes, they did. You know
Hmm.
where I'm at. But yeah, and that's the whole thing with like conspiracy, like what we're talking about with the chemtrails, is they made a website discrediting and making fun of conspiracy theorists. Like you and I start the podcast out saying we're not conspiracy theorists, we're not idiot. Like like we know we're not like in our mother's basement figuring out the bourgeoisie.
Yeah.
We're just talking about it,
Yeah.
bringing light to it. But I think when it comes to things like chemtrails, it's like, all right, make these people look crazy,
Hmm.
discredit some of this stuff,
Well, that's also
and
another
then
thing
yeah,
too.
like
Is like the phrase conspiracy theorist or theory was invented in the 60s to discredit people from talking about
yes,
aliens.
yes, yes,
That's
yes,
that's
yes,
how the whole thing came about.
yeah,
So we're talking about pretty recent times here, um, in the grand scheme of things here. So I don't know.
yeah, and then
What I
even
think you could even say, not to cut you off, but what I think even to say would be they're probably putting stuff in these chemtrails that are deteriorating us, if like internally, like, whether I don't know. I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor, I don't know. But I'm saying like I think that they're doing
yeah.
something like that so that we're more susceptible to becoming sick. Um that way, like that's the other thing is it's like,
Oh, you know what? I
you know,
never thought about that. Yeah,
right? You got doctors
yeah.
that don't want to lose business. They're going to prescribe you with pills that mitigate,
Big pharma.
right? That mitigate your symptoms,
Yeah.
not going to treat or fix your symptoms so that you keep coming back to them and giving them your money over and over and over again. Like think about it. It's really smart when you really think about it.
It is. No, it is. It is
Like think about it.
diabolical, but
If you were getting rich, do you want to stop getting rich? No. Like if you
no.
treated I think I saw something last year. Um Ironically looking up stuff for this podcast. It was like if everybody if the doctors did their job, they would only need to see the average person like 3 times in a lifetime, I think, depending on like a normal person, like with no disease.
Really?
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
Didn't know that.
You go for you're sick or you go for whatever it is. And you think about it, you're like, well, I mean, it makes sense. You know, it's also the
Mm,
same way that I think about. I always had this idea like with like doctors and like dentists and like mainly dentists. So like I got into a really heated argument before with somebody from college where they were like, you know, um, I go to the dent. They're like, I go to the dentist every like 6 months, and like, my teeth are clean, and blah 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 blah. Blah. They're like, oh, well, okay. I was like, okay, that's cool for you. I go on out. I go like every year. You know, I know you're supposed to go twice a year, but
Yeah, 6 months.
you
Yeah.
know, I just looked up what they use to clean your teeth, and I just started using it.
Fluoride.
Yeah, I just started doing like
Yeah.
home stuff, keep my teeth clean, keep my gums healthy, you
Yeah.
know, and
Brush
then
twice a day, floss, should be fine.
I'm sorry, brush. What's that?
Like you 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 brush.
Hmm. Never heard of it. I'll try it out though. But no, that's what I'm saying. So
But see, that's
anyway,
the whole thing
yeah,
with
man.
chemicals. No, you're good. Like that's the whole thing with chemicals. Like Jim Morris stated in 2007 from like his Louisiana television station that he reported as evidence for chemtrails in the report that the air underneath a crosshatch was it had a bunch of barium and it was 6.9 parts per billion. So essentially that's like, per billion there's 6.9. So if there's a billion,
Mhm.
6.9 parts of that billion is barium. And that is 3 times the US national recommended limit. So,
Solid.
right then and there, you saying talking about chemicals coming from the air, chemicals from the dentist, all that kind of stuff, that's already happened. Like that was proven. But this, I don't know if this is debated or whatever is really going on with this, but I love what they say that the subsequent analysis of the footage showed, however, that the equipment had been misused. And the reading exaggerated the factor of 100 for the level of barium that was measured in both the that was both usual and safe. So the unusual and safe. Um,
So
so
what
basically,
does that mean?
this man found information,
Hmm.
put it out there.
Yep.
Then was found that it was misused, and that the barium was the typical amount and safe. So take that for what it is, I guess. Maybe he did misuse it. Maybe it was something that he, was not his best day in the office. I
Hmm.
just thought that was interesting
It is quite
because we talk about
interesting.
not, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, not only did he
So
misuse it or misread it, but it's also the perfect level, like, or the, you know, good enough level, like the recommended
yes,
dedicated RAM in a
yes,
server. Um,
yes,
but yeah, I don't know. I just that's a little ironic, little coincidental.
yeah. And the one thing too is that I did put in here too is I know all of us know who Edward Snowden is. For those of you who don't know, he's the whistleblower on the
Snowden.
whole Patriot Act thing. Snowden.
I'm
Wow,
Snowden. He's Snowden.
he's
So
Snowden.
yeah, don't.
Wow, sorry.
Yep. You know
Yeah.
how many times
Um,
I heard that. Do you even want to? Oh wow, are you guys related? Oh wow, look at you guys. Oh, why aren't you in Russia too?
Snowden.
Oh, look at this guy. It's just one of those things,
It's
man.
just I talk to you like every what?
Hmm?
I talk to you like every day. So it's like I see like Gray or Gavin Snowden. So like, yeah. So Edward Snowden, he was the whistleblower on the Patriot Act, and he was just in the Joe Rogan experience. So he's done a lot of like telling the truth, hooking up the United States. Well, the citizens, not the United States, he's not hooking them up at all.
Yeah.
Airing out their dirty laundry. But
Mhm.
the one thing that kind of kiboshed this a lot more than the actual scientists was he goes, and I quote, he said, "In case you were wondering, chemtrails are not a thing, and I had a ridiculous amount of access to the NSA and the CIA and the military and all these things, and I couldn't find anything." So that sentence, believe it or not, kind of kiboshed a lot of the stuff.
Yeah.
Because he was whistleblowing on a lot of things. Obviously, the Patriot Act, how the government's watching you, things like this, that, and the third. And then he goes, the one thing I even looked up to was like, chemtrails, couldn't find anything. Maybe that was like really hidden. It was like top secret, like Area 51 shit. But yeah, so take that with a grain of salt. But yeah, dude, like I feel that there is a good possibility. It's plausible that
Mhm.
chemtrails could be a thing. I think
Yeah.
it's very plausible that the government could put things in there. Like I know like there's the whole MDMA thing. Not even just the MK Ultra thing that the government did, but people are saying like, and to your point earlier, that oxygen is killing you. And then people say like if you take like DMT or tablets, the
LSD.
MDMA, LSD, yes. That when you go in, it's like, hello, thank you for joining us. And it's like you break the matrix, as
Yeah, you
Andrew
break the
Tate always says.
simulation.
yeah, you break the simulation, or like you were that this is what the world is like because you are now you still have the oxygen in your system, but you are experiencing life as it is, but the oxygen straightens you out and then eventually kills you. It takes you 75 to 80 years to kill you.
Yeah,
So there's always that theory, and then maybe these chemtrails are just releasing enough. Maybe it is barium, maybe it's MDMA, maybe it's I don't know. Um, but it's interesting. It's really interesting to think about
it
because you're
is.
having all these theories, all these people talk about it, and
Well, it's pretty
here we are.
what's pretty like interesting when you think about it is like, all right, so you have Edward Snowden, who's the guy, the whistleblower in the CIA. Yeah, they made, and
Not to
that's
be
that's
confused with
that's
Snowden.
another thing. A little quick sidebar is how shameless Hollywood is. Like you had a guy that comes out and says the government is literally um
Yeah,
lying about, like,
I know where
spying
you're
on
going.
you and lying to you and all this stuff, and then you go make a movie about it, and you're like, well, and then people go and see it, and they're like, well, you know, what's crazy? This is what's nuts. You had him come out and do all this, right? You had him come out
Yeah,
and be a
yeah,
whistleblower. No one cared. Nobody. I mean, there was a good amount of
yeah.
people that were like, "Oh, okay." A lot of the people that I knew were like, "Pfft, bullshit." The movie comes out, and they're like, "Dude, no
Yes,
way!" And then I'm like,
yes, yes,
it is mind
yes.
blowing how. I mean, look, the number one thing you want to do, right, or the one thing you don't want to do is try to speak to people in a way that's not how they're used to being spoken to. That's what I think,
Sure.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
So if you want to create the population to kind of try to think one way, you need to overflow how the young generations are being brought up. Like if
yeah.
I go to a 75, 80-year-old man or woman and I said, "Hey, things are better now than they were back in the 70s," they're going to be like, "You're stupid. What are you talking about?" If I go to somebody that was
Sure,
born in 2005 and I ask them and I tell them, "Hey, things are pretty good right now compared to the 70s, wouldn't you agree?" They're going to go, "Yeah, sure." That's all they know. Like, you know what I mean?
sure.
So it's one of those things where it's like you want to get people to stop talking about something, you need to just face it and get out in front of it, right? Like that's what the government does. They get out in front of
Yeah,
everything. Look at all the conspiracy, even as much as the conspiracy theories about like the celebrities dying. They get out in front of all that stuff, and then all of a sudden, it's a running joke on the internet, huh? And then we get into the whole conspiracy theory about the Russian bots and all that stuff, um, influencing our social media. Right, number one social media app in the world right now, is made from China and literally was already broken down to spying
mhm.
on people. People still use it, so
Well, so oddly enough, they were actually talking about I think it got passed. I don't know, what happened about it. I heard it on Joe Rogan, and they put up, like, the facts on the thing, and the government is talking to Apple and Google to get rid of TikTok.
yep,
So, this is a fact that the fact that this guy reverse engineered TikTok and goes, "This is probably one of the worst malware
yeah,
that you could have gotten on your phone." And, I mean, the fact that I use it is kinda sad, but the thing is he's like, this has to go." But the thing is because it is so addicting, it's hard, but they're working with Apple and Google, I think as we speak, or if not, it's already on its way through to get rid of it from the App Store and kibosh it totally.
yeah, yeah. I would. I mean, I
All I'm
use it
saying is you
too.
should have kept Vine on the market. That's
Vine should have never been bought, or
yeah.
sold, but
Twitter,
yeah, no, I started basically I got sidetracked. But what I was trying to say was, yeah, Edward Snowden come out and basically say, like if anybody was going to tell you, like, okay, what the truth is, it's probably going to be him.
yeah,
However, this isn't really directly related to chemtrails, but I did have a quick, won't take long, just a quick conspiracy theory. And we don't have to get into it,
okay,
but I wanted to
it's
mention it.
fine.
Number one whistleblower history, I would say in recent history anyway, Edward Snowden, right? Worked for the
Okay,
CIA, right? Or the NSA.
alright.
Was it the NSA or the CIA?
He worked for it was the NSA.
NSA. Starts telling all the government spoils. Goes on a couple podcasts talking about the government spoils. All of a sudden, he ends up in Russia. So he flees so he doesn't get killed, right?
Yeah.
Then Hollywood goes and makes a movie about him, right?
Where are you going with this?
I think that people were on the precipice of figuring out the government was spying on us and that the government was doing these fucked up things. So if the government comes out and says, go and get out in front of it, why not we give them one of our own? Now you have this guy that's from the NSA, government agent, coming out and saying this is what they're doing. And he's able to access the largest podcast on the face of the planet in Joe Rogan and talk about it. Not really. I mean, when you look at it through that lens, things could get a little interesting, because everyone's always taking it for face value. Like, oh my God, this guy's a patriot. He knows things are going wrong. He feels terrible about it. But if all the facts were there and all the facts were true, that would be the largest. Well, it'd be the largest government breach of security ever. And not only is it the biggest breach of security ever, but he's also able to go on the biggest podcast in the world with the largest following. And
That's interesting. You know what? I never would have thought of that. That's
so
so okay. So you're saying they're getting out in front of it and they just so he is the sheep. He is the what's you want the what you want to call it, the sacrificial lamb.
I think it's better to cut off a pinky than lose the whole arm. Okay. So
That's
if people are on the precipice and right on the cusp of figuring out what's going on with some of this stuff, the government says there's nothing that we can do about it. Let's give them what they want. Let's give them the verification of what their ideas are and what their thoughts are, so that they don't keep digging. Right? If you're a dog, you're digging for a bone, and you find a bone, you're not going to keep digging for a bigger one. You know what I mean? So, I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm not saying that's true. It's just a very interesting thought. So, like I said, we don't have to get into it today, but
Yeah. Plus, I think we also hit our mark too. Then, right?
yeah, we're
Yeah.
we hit our mark for the episode. But yeah, man, no,
All right, my friend. Well, thank you for the very formidable information that I have in my brain now that I'm gonna
Mhm.
do a deep dive in. So,
You're welcome, man.
thank you for my 3 a.m. work.
You're welcome. Yeah, I hope you're. I'm keeping you up at night, rent free. So,
But all right, is there anything else you wanna add?
no. Yeah, I just wanted to say these kind of, speaking, going forward with this kind of stuff. I like talking about these kind of things from like an objective outlook. You know.
Yeah,
So I think keeping them short and sweet is a good thing. Um, and
I would
then I
agree with
think
you.
if
Yeah.
we can definitely do a special on one if it's something that that we want to do. But other than that, I really enjoyed this. No, that was that's all I got.
Yeah, that's all I have either. And Gavin, I will see you later.
All right, my friend. Well, see you later.